Hi, and welcome to the Daily Gopher Hangout for the second time this year as we head into the TCU game. Today we've got three of us. Again, we have 11 people on staff, 11, and we struggle to get more than three people, well, more than two people, um, on for these hangouts. But we do have some brilliant minds here today, as usual. We have Danny Dark Knight with us joining to talk
Hey
more
guys, how's it
hockey,
going?
and we also have Andy joining us this time. Welcome back.
How you doing?
Did you join us last year at all? You weren't around last
Uh,
year, were
no,
you?
no, I came in too late. You guys got too busy during football season, decided to bring me on to cover the more important sports.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Yep.
Well, so you're a virgin hangouter, so welcome.
Yeah, as we can tell that I'm now doing this on my phone, not my computer, because I found out I don't have a earplug jack on my laptop. So that was something will be remedied hopefully by next time, so I don't have to hold my hand still for the next half hour.
You and Chris are the guys that have the technical issues.
Yeah.
Um,
And I,
Well,
I
at least
brought in
it's,
a lamp.
you brought a lamp, add some light.
Oh yeah.
Nice. I just go with the beautiful background
Yeah.
shades.
It's classy.
All right, let's get going here. What are we drinking tonight? Andy, what are you drinking?
well, I've got myself a nice, relatively full glass of Evan Williams single barrel 2004 vintage.
Nice. Very nice. I almost grabbed that actually for tonight, but I figured it was TCU, so I'd maybe step it up a little and pull something
I
else.
grabbed the first thing I found in the cupboard, so I wasn't too picky.
That works too. Danny, what do you got?
I'm scraping the bottle of our liquor cabinet. So
Yeah.
tonight I'm mixing my Windsor Canadian once again with Bud Light Lime. We're gonna see how that goes.
Oh, interesting.
Poorly,
I was
poorly.
gonna say I'm not real optimistic about how it's gonna taste, but I'll try not to make too much stink face.
Yeah. We might just keep the camera on you the whole time so we can see your face when you're drinking.
It's starting.
All right. I went with the Bookers, the regular not the regular Bookers, but the 25th anniversary Bookers that came out last I don't know, winter, spring. I think it was
Show
winter,
off.
spring. I it's okay. It it's not good for what you pay for it, but it's good and it's really strong. So we're going with strong,
Oh, there you go.
really strong. What is the proof? 130.8 proof. So
Alrighty then.
Seriously, this comes out of the barrel at 130.8.
yeah, well all the like bourbons and whiskeys come out really strong, but usually they water them down. So like your
Well, I thought they
Windsor,
came out as like 120, and then you cut it down to
sometimes
80.
it always depends on where depends on like weather, how hot it is, and depends on what level of the warehouse it's in. Basically the evaporation, right? So heat
Wow.
makes the water evaporate. Some get really strong. I've got one that's like 140, almost 144 proof.
Jeez.
You use it to jumpstart your car then.
You could, yeah. I've taken some that's about like the 130, 135, and if you just spit it on like a campfire, it goes.
Nice.
It's
As
pretty
long as
fun.
it tastes better than Bacardi 151, then we're talking okay.
Uh, true.
How's your Windsor and Bud Light Lime?
It's surprisingly better than I thought it would be.
All right, good. We'll have to
There's
get
a
you some.
lot of lime in it. A lot of lime.
We'll get you some kinky vodka for next time.
Just don't give me the O-Face vodka. I'm not into the O-Face vodka.
All right.
If they still make it.
All right. Well, let's move on and talk Gopher sports before we, lose my press pass because all we do is use the Gopher name and talk booze. Nobody's watching this.
Yeah.
Before we really get into the Gopher zone, let's talk about the Big Ten meltdown this last week. I liked Chris's article on why do we care? Because we don't care. Because we root against a couple Big Ten teams and kind of root for the rest of the Big Ten teams, and how it really doesn't matter for the Gophers. But what's interesting is it seems like this season is ripe for the Gophers to move up a notch or two, right? Michigan looked abysmal. Um, Maybe I'm really overconfident by saying that we can hang with Michigan after not hanging with them the last several times. Nebraska looked bad. Iowa looked bad. Purdue and Northwestern are bad. Illinois looks bad. Ohio State looked bad against Virginia Tech, right? They gave up, what,
Yeah.
6 or 7 sacks in the second half? Um,
Stellar.
so nobody looks unbeatable. I will give us
No,
that.
I mean, and I can see both sides of the argument about it being a good thing or a bad thing. If we're talking long term and we believe that this program can be built into a national powerhouse, yeah, it's probably better for the Gophers and for Minnesota fans if the Big Ten is the elite football conference. But I mean, in our day-to-day operations, and even in the next, say, 5, 10 years,
Yep.
I don't think it's really gonna harm us. Like, I don't think that there's a recruit who's gonna go, well, I have an offer from Minnesota and an offer from some school in Florida, and I'm on the fence, and the conference is gonna tip me. I just don't. I kind of agree with Chris also that I don't think that's a big deal for us.
Agreed.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think we'll make it 3 for 3 on that one. Is that we have some of the people who will root for Iowa and Wisconsin for Big Ten pride no matter what. And as Danny said, those are the teams right now we're competing with for recruits. In a perfect world, we go 9-3, 10-2, and Wisconsin, Iowa both are 6-6 because then people look at us as maybe a better place for if you're looking at those 3 schools. We'll get our share. I think Coach Kill and the rest of the coaching staff really have found their niche in trying to get recruits, and I mean we've gotten some that that both Iowa and Wisconsin have wanted, and I think it can only help us to do get more and more the better we do and the worse they do, honestly. And if a team like Ohio State decides to get back to where they were and starts running the table, and good for them. We'd love to beat them, but I think as Danny said, in the next 5 or 10 years, we're looking for that level of, going from the 3-9s to the 6-6 to the 8-4 last year to the averaging 10-2 and trying to sneak into the Big Ten championship game and try and win 1 or 2 of those and get to Pasadena if we're in a good year. Of course, we all know what's going to happen is the 1 year we actually make that, we're going to end up in the Peach Bowl or something like that because Pasadena will be a national semifinal or something like that. But, overall, rooting for our rivals to do good for conference superiority, I don't think helps us in the long run at all.
No, I don't fault anybody for wanting to root for the Big Ten, but it doesn't help us. Wisconsin beating LSU doesn't help us this year. In any way, in any fathomable, reasonable, rational way.
No, you'd really be looking at a downstream effect if you were to say, well, we barely lost to Wisconsin, and Wisconsin beat LSU, so we might almost beat LSU. I just don't buy into that. Like that's
right.
Grasping for hope when it may or may not be there.
It does nothing for recruiting for us, right? If the Big Ten fell off and became a MAC level school, right? If it's like the Big Ten of baseball. Well, then there's some recruiting implications. But we're still one of the Power 5 conferences. And even if you put us at 5th, right, we're still one of the Power 5 conferences.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be a short-term swing. I mean, I think with Urban Meyer, and I think with Michigan will eventually hire to replace Brady Hoke and things like that. I think there's going to be enough coaching staffs that there's no way that those 2 schools are going to stay down for long. So, we may be 5th out of the 5 power conferences now, but I mean, the Big 12 isn't great. The Pac-12 is good right now, but all it takes is UCLA to get back to where they've been for the last 15 years and things like that, and all of a sudden the Big Ten's better than the Pac-10 again, or Pac-12 or whatever the hell the number is now.
Right. And somebody else pointed out too that like winning in a down year in the Big Ten sure beats losing in a good year.
Hell yeah. Well,
nobody. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that I think that the reason that the Big Ten will never become a non-Power 5 conference is very structural. We're talking about huge universities. We're not talking about like MAC schools, Northern Illinois. Yeah, tons of money, tons of graduates. I know we don't fill up TCF Bank Stadium with 80,000 people every weekend, but other schools in the Big Ten do. And that gives you a lot of strength that other schools just aren't going to be able to compete with.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, and to jump off what Tom was saying too, Gopher fans, while there are a few that are really fickle and cynical, the most of us are rational enough to realize that we haven't been to the promised land in a long time. So if we're going to win the Big Ten in a down year, I don't think many of our fans are going to criticize the Big Ten for being down the year we win it.
Hell no, we won't. We will have parades in the streets, and there will be burning couches and dinky tones.
Yep.
It doesn't matter.
And then let Iowa and Wisconsin say, "Oh yeah, good job. It was a down year." After we beat them.
Screw them.
All right, let's move on. Let's move on. What are we talking about next? I already forgot. We are talking about injuries and playing all these true freshmen on defense. Year 4 of the kill era, and I was kind of hoping by now we wouldn't be playing all these true freshmen as true freshmen.
Yeah, it's rough right now, especially the front seven. So by my count, looking at the depth chart, we have Elmore, Stelter on the line in the 2 deep. We have Richardson starting at defensive tackle. We have Cheliston, Williams, and Laster in the 2 deep at linebacker, and Jack Lynn starting as a sophomore also. So we're a little thin in the front seven, but at the same time, it's kind of been the strength of our team has been the defense so far this year. So I'm not overly concerned. And hey, maybe long term it pays dividends for us in a couple of years when we have all these guys with game experience that they otherwise wouldn't have had.
Yeah, that is definitely the one positive you can really take from this is playing all these guys as freshmen, redshirt freshmen, sophomores now. Is you think our defense is good now, give it 2 or 3 years, and I think we're really going to have arguably one of the best defenses in the Big Ten. The only other thing, if I want to try and shine as a shiny light on it as possible, is maybe a lot of these freshmen are playing due to injuries, but maybe some of them are that good. I mean, Richardson has really impressed so far as a D tackle. Now, he doesn't have your typical size, but that guy can create holes. He can get through the line. He can stuff the run. I mean, if he's doing this as a true freshman playing in his first 2 games, if he sticks around for 4 years, there's no reason why that guy can't be a, all Big Ten defensive lineman in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. It seems like Richardson earned it before injuries. Craig James earned it before injuries. He's kind of a stud. Maybe Stetler earned it before injuries.
Stetler was in the mix at least. He was in the rotation.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think in a perfect world, I think they probably would have loved to have redshirted Elmore at D tackle. I think they would have loved to have, well, specifically at linebacker, Everett Williams, who just got in, Gary Moore, who just played. I think those guys in a perfect world would have redshirted. But now that they're playing, you just got to sort of look at the positives and say, all right, well, they're going to get a lot of time and a lot of minutes in the Big Ten as true freshmen. So yeah, our defense is hanging on pretty good right now. Hopefully, they continue to play stout as we get tougher and tougher competition. But it's the learning and trial by fire. If they can, if they can do great as freshmen, we all know we're not. I mean, I guess I shouldn't say we all know we're not going to, but a 10-2 year this year would be a shock to all of our things. I mean, I think we would love to go 7-5 with the schedule we have.
I would love to go 7-5.
It's a down year in the Big Ten, though.
It is. But, you look at 2 years from now when our schedule gets more favorable, we lose Ohio State, we lose Michigan, we pick up Maryland and Rutgers, and, theoretically they won't be powerhouses by that time. If we can get a lot of these guys playing time now and that they're starting as juniors and seniors against that lineup, I mean, I've said all along, as soon as I saw the Big Ten schedules, 2016's the year. If we can get everybody geared up, there is absolutely no reason why we can't make a run.
Yep. Well, and the other positive spin you could put on the front seven being so young right now is that the 4 guys behind them are pretty damn good and pretty damn experienced. Our secondary, you don't want your corners and safeties making a bunch of tackles on running plays, I understand. But there's a solid unit behind them. So hopefully youth and athleticism will get us far enough this year and then build experience for next year and beyond.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how some of these guys play against tougher competition when we get into the Big Ten, even TCU, because it's a lot different than playing Middle Tennessee State. So especially those guys in the trenches.
Yep.
Oh, that's what you're going to have. I mean, and that's where, granted, we don't play a lot of the schools that have line issues till November, but you look at Ohio State having issue with 4 new linemen. You look at Wisconsin having issues with 4 new linemen. Those are the type of schools you almost wish you were playing them here in October rather than late November, because you'd still like to take advantage before they can all get together and gel. But they're gonna have to sit tight. They're gonna have to learn by fire, and one way or the other, we'll find out here. I think in the next couple of weeks with TCU, and then probably San Jose State will be easy, but then Michigan. As we said, Michigan got stomped by Notre Dame, but I guarantee you, Big Ten opener in the Big House, they're going to be ready to. The last few times we've gone in there early in the year, they've let us have it. So I'm sure they're fully expecting to be able to do that again.
I think they'll be overconfident. We got them right where we want them.
Hey, man, if this is the year, or if you're looking at a year to take a shot at Michigan, I think this is probably the year to take a shot at Michigan.
Yeah.
Screw them. That's what I'd say. Yes. Go in there and beat them.
It happens about every 10 years, so we're due. So why not? Why not this year?
Well, yeah. When was the last time we won the jug at home? We only win it at Michigan, right?
Yeah, no, that's true. 76 was the last year we won it at home.
Unbelievable.
76. Enough said. We'll just always, any home game, we'll just transfer it to Ann Arbor. Going forward.
Well, hopefully we get them sometime in a later season home game, maybe November. Have it be nice and cold. In a couple of years, I'm not talking about now. In a couple of years, get them in a nice cold game.
Was it 2008 when we got them late in the year at the Metrodome and they monkey stomped us like?
We don't.
Well, there were a lot of teams that monkey stomped us in 2008. That wasn't rare.
What was the last year of the Dome? We were feeling pretty good that year.
I think it was 2008 because when I graduated, 2008. Yeah, I think 2009 might have been the first year in TCS.
Yeah, we were feeling good that year to the last few games. We won't mention what the last game in the Dome happened to end up like, but
no, where they defiled our bathrooms.
Hey, I will not miss the Metrodome for basically any reason.
No. All right, moving on. Talking about the Metrodome wasn't on the list. Let's talk about Mitch Leidner. Has struggled through 2 games against poor teams, possibly injured. So now the debate is he going to play, and how well is he going to play? And does it matter if he plays? That's kind of my question. Andy?
Well, I think he is going to play. We found out tonight, unless the Gophers are getting really full of trickery. He was not listed on the injury report. He's listed in the depth chart as the starter, so we're fully expecting him to start. All the tweets coming from practice today as to Marcus Fuller was the main one I saw. It said apparently he was 100% doing everything, running all the drills, full speed at practice today. So I think you're going to have probably a 90-95% Mitch Leidner going to the game on Saturday. Now, whether that will be enough after we've seen, if we haven't seen him the last couple of games, he hasn't been running the ball nearly as much as he was last year, but he definitely has been not the most accurate passer in the world. I think we're at 50% through 2 games. A number that Tom is watching very closely, considering his bet with JD.
It's money in the bag. I've already got space in my liquor cabinet.
What? Okay, repeat what the bet was.
The bet with JD is that Mitch Leidner does. I want to make sure I say the numbers right. Basically, if it's 57% or higher completion percentage, JD wins. 56% or lower, I win.
I think if he's over 57%, someday they will build a statue of him outside one of the gates.
I think if he's over 57%, he might be up for all Big Ten teams.
Right.
The thing we have to realize, though, with Mitch, and I'll go with the very rosy argument here, playing for JD not here, is that Philip Nelson didn't look great early in the season last year for us, and then he came out of nowhere in the game against Penn State and Nebraska and was throwing the ball all over the place. So now the coaches haven't probably opened up the playbook yet. I think I think once we get to tougher games, hopefully we'll start seeing it Saturday, but especially in the Big Ten, you're going to see Mitch rely on a heavy dose of Max Williams, Drew Wolotarski, Donovan Jones. You're not going to see that much Logan Hutton. You're not going to see that much Isaac Frichte. I know they want to try and get the ball to KJ May. Everybody's so high on KJ May, I still haven't seen it happen yet. I maybe run some jet sweeps for him, but I haven't seen him catch the ball in space and make people miss yet. Supposedly he has that potential. We'll hopefully see it. But I think once we open up the playbook and hopefully we pull out some of those plays that work towards the midseason of the year, things will go up and get a little bit more impressive. On the other side, it's everybody says his mechanics don't look great. His footwork isn't amazing right now. So it's going to be a work in progress. I think we're really are going to get a good idea Saturday of what we're going to see in the future. I don't think they'll completely open the playbook, but you're definitely going to see a lot more of the plays that you'll see later in the season. I think you're going to definitely see them looking more for passes downfield to Max, passes downfield to Wolotarski, using Donovan Jones, trying to get him some space on some wide receiver bubble screens, things like that. That will help his completion percentage, unfortunately for you. But I mean, he's going to have to make some throws downfield eventually, whether it's to the tight ends or the receivers. The dink and dunk will get you so far, but if TCU or other Big Ten teams start bringing 8 guys in the box, and the guys are open, he's got to make the passes. If he doesn't make the passes, it's probably going to be a long Big Ten season, and we'll live or die with how Mitch does. They haven't shown me Strevler throwing the ball at all. From all reports, he's apparently is even more raw than Mitch is. So all the Minnesota fans who love the backup quarterback, beware what
you're answer the backup quarterback. Why do Minnesota fans love backup quarterbacks?
Everybody does.
So much.
So it's not like from what everybody, the media is saying who have seen him, it's not like Strevler's going to be the answer. So I think we're gonna have to run on Mitch's shoulders, and hopefully, coming out of high school, he was supposedly a great passer. He was supposedly a 7-on-7 wizard the summer before his senior year of school. So I think he's got the talent in him. The question is just going to be whether the coaching staff, Lime Grover and Pat Poore and Zabrowski, can find it in him, or whether they're just going to sort of hang him out to dry and hope for the best.
Well, see, I think you're right in that we haven't seen what the passing plan looks like for this year yet.
That's true.
I think a lot of his passes and a lot of the pass plays, it's almost kind of been mandated where they wanted him to go with the ball. And maybe I'm misreading it. Maybe he's just not looking around the field as much as he should be. But it seems like unless they're telling him, try to hit Donovan Jones on the deep post route, it seems like they want him to throw the 10-yard out and get the first down, the 7-yard slant, get the first down, rather than, not necessarily trying to home run, but just letting him go, here are my 3 or here are my 4 routes, and I'm just going to choose one depending on what they give me. I feel like they've kind of been dictating what they want him to do. And at the same time, he is a sophomore quarterback seeing his first real action as, it's such a cliche, but the guy. And yeah. I think Minnesota fans need to understand that he's not Christian Ponder. He was not a first-round draft pick that has gone terribly, terribly wrong for us.
He's not Adam Weber.
He's not Adam Weber. Like, he's not these guys that we've had. And I'm not saying that he's less or more talented than Christian Ponder. I'm just saying don't hang your Christian Ponder angst on Mitch Leidner. He's a sophomore quarterback. Let him go through it. Like, if you want a good quarterback next year and the year after, we need Mitch Leidner to stay in the game and learn. And you don't want to boo him and get in his head and all that stuff. It's just let him be a sophomore quarterback. Let him make mistakes. Let him throw into tight places and have it knocked down or intercepted. And you just got to have the poor guy's back, for God's sake.
To be clear, I like Mitch Leidner. I love his leadership. I like his toughness. The guy runs really. I mean, the guy's a bruiser out there. I tend to think so far he's made pretty good decisions. problem is just accuracy, which is why I'm led to believe he's not going to hit 57% of his passes this year. Doesn't mean I don't believe him. Doesn't mean I want somebody else to be the starter. I think he's the guy. I think he'll be fine. But from this point forward, for the remaining 10 games, he's going to have to complete 59% of his passes to hit 57%.
Right.
I just don't see that happening, especially as defenses get better as we go.
Right.
But I also agree that the game plan is going to change, hopefully, for this game. Right? We're going to see a lot more shifts and motions. We're going to see a lot more max. We're going to see some Donovan Jones jet sweeps instead of Isaac Fruchty jet sweeps.
Yeah, what the?
I think we'll see some more Berkeley Edwards. But I don't know what that's going to mean for his completion percentage.
Right. Can I close circuits to Mitch Leidner right now?
Yep, I'm sure he's watching right now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know you watch and I know you follow our site very closely, but please, Mitch, just either slide or just dump the ball off to the tight end. Do not take on 2 linebackers and a strong safety when you don't need to. Right? Like, there's no reason to go charging head first like John Elway in the Super Bowl against EIU or MTSU or whoever it was. We need you around. Please, just slide.
Stop. Just stop with that talk. Mitch,
Okay.
run him over. Hammer him.
Yeah, lower both shoulders right into 2 linebackers and a safety.
Just make sure you get to 150 completion or attempts first. Then that's also part of the bet. Minimum 150 attempts.
Yeah. Well, you got 6 or 7 games and we'll be there.
All right, well, let's move on to TCU, this week's opponent. Big 12 team, middle of the pack Big 12 team that's kind of moving up to the top of the middle of the pack, and is how I kind of determine, as the Gophers are trying to move up to the top of that middle of the pack in the Big 10. On the road, I hate it when we play teams that get 2 weeks to prepare for us, especially when they played nobody and we have no kind of film to go off of them. But good team, good speed. I heard it on the radio they've got 3 receivers that are like all-American track stars. I don't know. I'm not worried about our secondary, I guess. But what do you guys think? How's it gonna play out on Saturday?
Well, I'll be honest. I don't know a ton about TCU other than what I've read recently, and all that I've heard is they're fast, and that's dangerous in a football game, but it's not the end-all be-all. The Vikings had a running back named Michael Bennett, who is, I think, the world's greatest collegiate hurdler or something like that, and just not a great running back in the NFL. So speed isn't.
Well, he went to Wisconsin, so that was strike number 1.
See, there we go. Clearly, it's a character flaw. But it'll be a really tough test. It'll be something that the Gophers aren't accustomed to seeing in a team with the athleticism that they're going to bring.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be an eye-opener for them. As Tom said, they've got 2 or 3 absolute burners at receiver that I am slightly a little bit worried that how our secondary. I think Eric Murray and I think Derek Wells can stay with them. I think the one thing you're really going to have to see is I think we're going to have to maybe play a little bit of press coverage and really try and outmuscle them, because the one thing that Murray, although he's improved on it, has done is he does a pretty good job of sticking receivers, but he still hasn't mastered that whole turning his head as the ball comes thing. And if TCU's receivers have a step on them, that could be a little bit of trouble, because there's going to be no catching them if they get a step on them. They're going to be gone. They've got a fairly good running game. They've got a running back just like Cobb, who was Doak Walker nominated. So I mean, he's definitely a good player. Their quarterback situation is a little bit up in the air. They've got Boykin, I think his name is, who's much more of a dual threat. He's going to be a guy just like we saw Jalen Whitlow for EIU first game of the year, is going to be able to run. If we don't have a good spy on him, whether that's Devondre again, who didn't do the best job in the first game, or somebody like that, I can see them picking up a lot of yards. Just taking advantage of good coverage downfield and being able to run for 8 to 10 yards on second and long and third and long.
Yeah.
the bigger thing is going to be is the speed. Can we adapt to the speed? Defensively, TCU's got supposedly a great defense. They've got a safety who's really good, Sam Carter, um, and they've got a couple of linebackers who are also really good. So the main thing is going to be seeing our offensive line is going to have to get a better push than they've been doing so far this year. Cobb's done a pretty good job of finding holes when they're there, but if there are no holes, he's sort of been a sitting duck in the backfield. And unless we can get a really good offensive push and get some holes, I think that's where we're going to struggle. Everybody sort of says, "Oh, TCU went 4-8 last year. They ain't that good." They've got the athletes. They got, they had the injury bug last year, which slowed them a little bit, and they had some quarterback issues with Casey Paschal and his DWIs and rehab and things like that. But I think TCU really is going to be better this year. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they end up the year 8-4, 9-3, a fairly good, respectable, third or fourth place finish in the Big 12. So the Gophers are going to have to bring it on Saturday. I unfortunately don't think we're going to bring it enough. I see probably about a 10 to 13 point loss for the Gophers because I think they're just going to bog down and make Mitch throw the ball, and I don't think we're to the point yet where he's going to have a breakout game. But I'm willing to be proved wrong. I went into both Penn State and Nebraska last year thinking we didn't have a shot, and all of a sudden, holy crap, what happened? So I'll be pleasantly surprised, although I'll be checking the schedule scores on my phone because I'm falling victim to one of the most evil things in the world, which is a Saturday fall wedding.
Oh God. Well, I think it'll be a fun matchup because I think it'll be very two kind of diametrically opposed approaches. You have kind of the southern speed versus the northern grind almost, and I think between game 1 and game 2, the Gophers' offensive line made a big step forward. That the game against EIU was sloppy on the offensive line, and I think they cleaned a lot of that up in the second game and played much better, at least in the first half. And so it'll be fun to watch the conflicting styles kind of. And I don't know if we're gonna end up on top of this one. I don't know what to make of this game, mostly because I'm so unfamiliar with TCU.
Yeah, me too. I don't know a whole lot about them. I was reading up on their 4-2-5 defense, which is kind of interesting. Kind of wish Matt was here because I'm sure he could talk about it a little bit more. But it's interesting how the front 6 and the back 5 can have like completely different calls on the defense, and they work together obviously, but and even in the back 5, one half could be in a man and the other side could be in a zone, and so things kind of work independently but still work together.
Well, I can say this about that defense: every play in NCAA whatever year football, I'm in a 4-2-5. It's my favorite defense to run: 2 linebackers, 4 good linemen, and 5 guys back to stop the pass. I don't know if PlayStation necessarily translates to the college game.
Totally.
But I appreciate it.
Onto something. I'm pretty sure the coaching staff has spent all week playing.
Oh yeah.
Playing, trying to get things figured out.
I mean, I don't know how else you study.
Well, I will say the one thing I think the Gophers do have going for them, as you were saying earlier, we've only seen them. They played Samford or whatever, so we don't have a lot of film. But
where is that?
But prior to the last 2 years,
Alabama.
Yeah, prior to the last 2 years, Tracy Clays and Lime Grover and Kill, I mean, they really have had back and forth with Patterson's staff at TCU. So, I mean, I think they know the rough playbook. I mean, I think they know to expect what Gary Patterson and his team is going to bring to the table. I don't think there's anything that's going to really be trickery. The question's just going to be, again, can we stop it? And can we game for it, and can we play? I think TCU definitely is going to be the most evenly spread offense we've played so far this year. That's not saying much, but yeah. I think they both have the ability to attack through the air and on the ground, and so I think this will be a big test for our defensive line. I haven't been too impressed with the push they've had the first couple of games. I think they've sort of been a stalemate. I think they're really going to have to try and Get some pass rushes. I know I saw Michael Amafala is at least not going to start, but he's somebody who I think really needs to try and get in the action early and try and get some rush off the end. Cochran too, although I'm sure he'll probably be double teamed a good chunk of the time. But they're really to try and get some pressure off the end, because if they don't have pressure and the TCU quarterback can sit back and just pick apart, our secondary is good, but as we said, we're dealing with a little bit of the especially if we're running our second string linebackers out there for sometimes. I think those slants and those over the middle routes might be more open than we'd like to see all day.
And the slant can kill you deep too. The 5 to 7 yard slant, Jerry Rice did it forever. If you've got speed like TCU does, hit a guy, get him behind the linebacker at 5 to 7 yards, and then just see what happens afterwards.
You can't get behind Devondre Campbell. That's the thing.
Yeah, he's big.
That'll be interesting. I don't know. I might kind of disagree with you a little bit, Andy, on the ends. I hope they don't get upfield and get a big push too much, because I'm concerned more about contain of the quarterback.
That's an excellent point that Andy kind of had made me think about earlier, but I got lost in the rest of what he said. I'd like to
got
see.
lost in his eyes.
Yeah, I'd like to see. I'm not sure so much that it's on the ends. I'd like to see more discipline out of our tackles or our nose guard or whoever's up the middle, to not try so hard to get around the outside of the offensive guard. Because when Whitlow, it's Whitlow, right, from the IU?
Yeah.
He gashed us. It just seemed like it was up the middle where all four guys would just start like this and then, like that, and then, hey, look, here's my face, run to my face.
Well, the major thing with that, I think, is going to be whoever. I'm blanking on our linebackers coach at the moment, but whoever's working them has really got to work with Devondre, because he had the spy on that a couple of times.
Yeah,
but he got so anxious. Yeah, well, or he was too far. He got too anxious that he bought the fake, and by the time he realized what was going on, Whitlow was going by him the other way. I mean, if his duty is to spy, even if that means they get an extra yard or two because he waits a second, I'd rather that the quarterback gets 3 yards and he stays home and spies than he breaks early, misses, and they get 10 yards.
Right. Yep.
Yep. Well, it'll be interesting. I think all three of us are kind of on the same page that we're not feeling real confident in a win, but hoping we can be competitive. Does that sound about right?
Well, I'm not confident.
Hoping.
Like I feel better about this team than about any Gopher teams, and
Yeah.
I don't know. The last time I remember feeling this good about a Gopher team, honestly, and this is a terrible point of reference, was when they beat Illinois at Illinois. It was Illinois at Illinois. Brewster was still the coach.
Yeah,
They won it. Yeah, they won that game. I was amped up, and after that, it just kind of went to hell.
I'm sorry, 2008.
2008.
It was the day my son was born.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
They won a big game in Illinois. But so no, I feel good about this team and what they can do. I don't know how it's going to translate to wins and losses yet, and that's why when we picked before the season started, everybody went 10-2 or 11-1 or whatever.
You and I,
shit.
you went 7-5, and I think we had the exact same picks to go 7-5.
Yeah, no, you and I, the hockey guys, the only guys, the hockey guys were the realistic people who would think 7-5 would be a great result.
Smart.
Well,
That's
clearly.
because we're realistic with football and we're ridiculously optimistic with hockey. We'll blow that out. Wait till we get to make hockey predictions. It's
Yeah. No, I'm trying to be realistic in hockey too, but I mean, honestly, I think 7-5 would be a great result, and this is one of those games that I think will turn the Gophers from a 7-5 team to an 8-4 team in the regular season. If we come out on top of this one, I will be pleasantly, happily surprised. Well, I won't be surprised. I'll be pleasantly and happily delighted. I won't be super surprised. This is one of the games where it's kind of up in the air for me, but on the road at TCU, Big 12 opponent, a lot of speed. I don't know, it's freaks out.
Yeah.
No, being at the wedding on Saturday, the best thing for my sobriety is probably we play good and we may, we lose by about a touchdown. Because if we either win the game, I'll be drunk celebrating, and if we get killed, I'll be drunk and trying to forget. So,
Oh,
but
good.
for my own sanity and sobriety, I think if we can play well, but just lose by about a touchdown, I'll be happy with that. I mean, if we win, I'll be jumping up and down, obviously, but. I think we're just all a little unsure about this team yet. We've seen flashes of great play, and then we've seen a drive or two where we're just sort of sitting there going, "What the hell just happened?" So the consistency is going to be key, especially as we get into the season, and we're just going to have to see how they react against a team that actually has some talent on it.
Well, see, that's kind of interesting because I think we're at the point where this program is almost at a tipping point or a turning point where last year was a really good year. We had 8 wins, and now we're trying to deal with having 8 wins and what we should expect going forward. And everybody feels great to go, yeah, 10 wins. We got 10 wins coming. We did 8 last year. We're going to be better. And that's not, unfortunately, that's not the way that it always works. And so I know I said this the last hangout we had too, but everybody just needs to bring the expectations back to earth just a little bit. Just enjoy where we're at. Enjoy being a competitive team and being in the fight in every game. And then, in a couple of years, we'll talk about being good and winning every game that we're competitive in. Right now, I see this kind of as a toss-up, and I guess that's my hope.
Yeah, I'm one who picked them to be 8-4, and I picked them to win this game. And I'm now thinking, well, we're not going to win this game. 7 to 10
You're on
points,
the 7-5 train too.
basically, yeah. Because I've said since last year, right, that I think this team will be better than last year, but the record might not indicate it, which is perfectly fine because the schedule is just tougher, and we added a legitimate team in the non-conference as opposed to who does this game replace? I don't even remember somebody from last year.
I don't know. And can I say that I appreciate having a legitimate non-conference opponent?
Yes.
It makes this way, way more interesting rather
Yes.
than the first 4 weeks just being the motions and you go and you shake your keys and the band plays.
And it's a legitimate non-conference opponent. They actually have an SBN blog, and it's
Yeah.
not like USC or Texas or you know what I mean. It's not like we're playing somebody that's a guaranteed loss.
Where we're playing them just for the money.
Exactly.
Well, and the good news is for all of us who are thinking that. I mean, I think the schedules the next 8 years are looking like that. I mean, I think we've got a home and home with Colorado State. I think we got Oregon State, a home and home coming up, and so I think we're going to see teams that aren't necessarily that level, that USC, that Texas, but aren't the Middle Tennessee States of the world either, which will make the fans who pay for their season tickets happy, and hopefully we still continue to play well enough to beat those teams, which will make the media happy that we're not just beating up on the little sisters of the poor.
Yes. So we're all pretty much in agreement, right? That pretty much throughout the whole thing, that it doesn't matter what the Big Ten does because winning in the poor Big Ten is better than losing in a good Big Ten.
Yeah, we had a big groupthink session today. That's nice. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Mitch Leidner is the guy. He's the guy we're going with. Let's not dog him, but let's not expect, completing 67% of his passes because it's not going to happen. And TCU, I think we all think we can be competitive. We're not going to be shocked with the win, but it's probably going to be a touchdown to 10-point loss. We all about in that same range?
I could see it being closer than 10 points. 10 points seems like we're giving TCU too much credit.
Maybe. Maybe.
And I could see it being tighter than that. And if it's tighter than that, I think everybody should be pretty happy.
I envision us having the ball in the fourth quarter down 1 score.
Yeah, if you're driving down 1 score with a chance.
Yeah, great. On the road against a good team in the Big 12, you bet. And then I see us needing to move the ball and not being able to move the ball. And then either they score or they don't score, or we lose by 4, 6, 13, something like that.
Yeah, I think you're right there. The the big battle this week will be our offense versus their defense. That'll decide the game. It won't be so much their defense versus our offense. And I know that seems stupid, but I think that's kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah,
All
no,
right.
I definitely agree. So
Sounds fun. Ultimately, all of us except Andy are really looking forward to watching a fun game against a good team. And friends don't let friends get married on Gopher football.
I'm really hoping the wedding is at 4, kickoff's at 3, so I'm totally timing this right. That hopefully I can catch most of the third and fourth quarter during cocktail hour, as long as
Attaboy.
the problem is the reception's up sort of in the middle of nowhere and just south of Lake Mille Lacs. So I'm really hoping that the bar actually has Fox Sports 1 on the TV.
That's
that
going to be
would
a few. Have you called? You haven't called yet to verify?
I have not. No, maybe that's what I need.
We should do that tomorrow.
Somebody's having a good night over there. That sounds awesome.
Oh yeah, you can hear that. Yeah, it's my oldest who's having a tantrum, which is awesome.
Yeah. Going to school tomorrow, or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's having a tantrum. Whatever, it happens.
It happens. Hey, before we sign off, I get the feeling we're kind of wrapping this up. I think Tom should talk a little bit about the Gopher basketball recruiting news.
Yeah, I totally forgot about Jarvis Johnson. He was supposed to be added to the list.
Forgot.
Huge. This is big. So Rick Pitino comes in. This is his first full recruiting cycle, and there's basically 2 kids in the state of Minnesota that he needs to target. Jarvis Johnson, who's a premier guard. Alex Ilkinen, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Who's a power forward. Alex, we'll call him Alex, has still not committed. I think most people think he's still leaning towards Minnesota, but we'll get back to him. Jarvis, however, is supposedly committing tomorrow at a ceremony at De La Salle, which is big. The guy at one point was a top 50, top 60 kind of caliber kid. This summer through the AAU season kind of dropped in a lot of the rankings, particularly the Rivals rankings, where he's dropped out of the top 150. But kid's legit, and so you can tell, and I wrote it in the story today, and you've seen it if you've paid attention in other articles about him, that Pitino's trying to get that kind of 2-guard, both quick and athletic and scoring guards who can run the point and who can both kind of play off guard as well. So that kind of Peyton Silva, Russ Smith, or who are the kids at UConn this year? Boatwright and somebody else.
Shabazz Napier.
Muhammad, yeah. Napier, that's what I mean. Shabazz Muhammad. wrong guard. But anyway, so you've kind of got this, right? Now Kevin Dorsey's the 4-star point guard that's coming in. Jarvis Johnson. What's going on here?
Let her have it. Good grief.
Oh man. So
anywho, allow me to lead you on.
It's a great signing. Both those guys can Kevin Dorsey will likely be your point guard. Jarvis will likely be your off guard. Both can handle it. Both can penetrate. Both can score. Then you got Nate Mason, who comes in this year, who can play point, shooting guard, and possibly Pitino's even saying, "Holy cow!"
Oh man.
Kids.
Someday I will have kids, and I will know what this is like.
Did I just say that? Watch this. Anyway, this is a big commitment. You got a big kid. You got a big local kid to stay here. Had offers from other, legit programs. Baylor, UNLV, Wisconsin offered them. So it's a big one. It's nice. Nice to get it early too, so you can kind of move on. We're done with guard recruiting. We'll add possibly Alex will join, which gives us 5 scholarship kids this year, with 4 available. So then we got to figure something out after that. But anybody else have any thoughts? So I can put my mic on mute.
Go ahead.
Andy, you go first.
No, I was just gonna say I agree. Getting Jarvis Johnson, even if he doesn't end up being the top 150 player that we all hope he will be, we'll just shut up a lot of the critics because he is the number 1 recruit in Minnesota and is a nationally wanted recruit, and we're going to get a guy that Wisconsin wanted. It isn't going to be Jordan Taylor all over again. going to the Badgers because the Gophers didn't want him. So I think that's definitely going to be good. And as we've seen, I think Pitino definitely wants to run that multiple guard set where he's looking at the the speed and the ability to make something off the dribble and be able to kick out for open jump shots as well. If we do get Alex in here, I think the big question is going to be what do we do with the scholarship? Obviously, we don't really have one available. I saw some people on the blog, sort of wondering what Charles Buggs' status might be if, since he was the last Tubby recruit, if Pitino tries to maybe run him off a little bit since he hasn't quite lived up to the hype there, or if you find another situation like Otto where somebody finds out they have an injury that they may or may not have been able to play through, but conveniently they go on medical leave. So that'll be an interesting thing to see, but definitely getting Jarvis Johnson. The only caveat, obviously, everybody's breaking it that he's going to sign with Minnesota tomorrow, and I have no doubt that he will. But the thing that makes you think a little bit is he is announcing in the same room at the LaSalle that Reed Travis announced at high school gym. So it's always something that, going off of past histories makes you just a little nervous. But it sounds like from all accounts that he will pick the Gophers tomorrow, and will make a lot of basketball fans happy here in Minnesota.
No doubt. Tom and I kind of talked before we started recording here, and Bugs was kind of the person who came up as where maybe an extra scholarship could come from. And I'll be honest, I'm not a great basketball mind. I'm not a great basketball recruiting mind. What I can say that I've noticed with Pitino is a change in the energy around the program. It's just worlds different than what it was, I don't know, since Clem Haskins was here. Tubby was okay, he brought a little excitement or whatever. But what Pitino brings to this program in terms of and just kind of aura and the way that it'll attract kids and attract people like me who aren't huge basketball fans into the program, it has to translate to recruiting. And it's kind of amazing that you're already seeing it happen kind of right now in front of us so early. I'm super impressed with it. And, I'm sure Richard has big plans ahead of him, and his dad has built this huge legacy and things like that. But if you want to keep Gophers basketball awesome and building on the track that it is, you got to keep Richard around. Like, I don't know what it's going to cost. You got to keep him here and have him understand that he can build his legacy here in Minnesota. And I know that I'm getting super premature. We went to the NIT last year. We didn't even make it to the NCAA tournament. But it's pretty impressive what he's done in terms of attitude in the region and the way people who are just casual observers feel about the program. I think we did a really good job hiring him, and I'd like to see him stay for a long, long time.
It's a great point. Yeah, he's done a pretty good job so far. I think he's finally getting this roster shaped the way that he wants it to shape. Wants it shaped to run when he wants to run. And it's going to be exciting to watch. I think the hand wringing over whether or not he's going to stay is kind of. I think he'll stay here until something really, really good comes along. Like really good comes along. And for that to come along, he's going to have to be successful here. So I think at the very least, he's going to build us up to something, and then he may leave, but then at least we're starting from a higher place than we were starting from before.
Right, but then you have to make another good hire after that to either maintain or build. And personally, and I know this is early, I would just prefer, to almost have the right, well, not the right, that's really, if he gets an offer, I hope that he would extend the university not the privilege, the courtesy of saying, hey, I've been offered this by a very top-tier program. I would like to stay here because I've built this from basically, not nothing. Tubby didn't leave us with nothing.
Yeah.
But, please keep me here. I would love it, love it, love it if he made that. I don't know that it's realistic, but
I don't see it shaking out that way. That's just it, right? Like if he
going along with the
top tier program, it has nothing to do with money, or he'll want to stay here because he wants to stay here.
well, and I was going to say, going along with the commitment. I mean, salary is one thing, but they're really, as long as we keep on plan and keep working with the facilities. I mean, that's going to be the other major thing.
Yeah.
Is if we can get the facilities for him in the next 5 to 6 years, looking long term, and you can get a state of the art or at least good enough practice facility. Not that they haven't done a great job redoing the gym and Bierman, but I'm sure everybody wants their own building and things like that. I think that's something that to retain somebody of his caliber, we're really going to have to keep following through on. And I feel as though Norwood Teague and company have a decent head on their shoulders towards that. So obviously we'll see as we get more in the future.
He says the right things, right? He says he wants to be kind of that Syracuse Jim Boeheim or UConn Jim Calhoun, where he builds it up from what was essentially not very much and builds it up into a national power, and he stays here his whole career. I don't necessarily believe him. I think if he's here 4 or 5 years and is successful, and Louisville comes calling after his dad retires.
Hey, at least he's smart enough to say the thing, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Richard Pitino is a perfect contrast to Glenn Mason, or at least the perception we all have of Glenn Mason 15 years later. You know what I mean? Like Richard says, I want to stay here. I want to build something. This is the only D1 program in the state. I can make my legacy here. Whereas Glenn Mason, it always felt like, or at least in hindsight, it always felt like, this is a stepping stone job for him.
Right.
And so you got to give him credit at least for saying the right thing. And whether or not it turns out to be true, only hindsight will tell. But hey, I'm happy to have a guy who's willing to say the right thing.
Ultimately, I'll say this again. What matters to me is if one of those blue chip kind of programs comes calling, it's because he was pretty successful here. And
right.
At the very least, we'll be in a better place when he leaves, and we'll have to hire somebody new. But it's a much more attractive job then, right? And right. I kind of trust Norwood Teague hiring a basketball coach.
I kind of trust Norwood pretty much generally.
Yeah, generally.
Things since he's taken over have been trending. It hasn't been like lightning fast results, but we're trending in the right direction where I think everybody can't be too upset, right? Unless
right.
I'm way off base.
Don't forget to thank Joel Maturi for the Jerry Kill hire, though. That was not Norwood.
Yeah. Oh my God. Blind horses find water occasionally.
All right. Well, let's end on that. It's late, and it's late. We've gone long enough, and if anybody's still watching, more power to them. Or maybe you need to find a new hobby.
Here's the time of the podcast or the Hangout where I mentioned that you should follow us on Facebook, www.facebook.com/thedailygopher. Give us a like, share our stuff, click on it. We love you for it.
Yes.
That's
Andy,
pretty much all I have to say.
Andy, what would you like to pimp?
I got nothing.
Right.
I'm just
enjoy your wedding.
It's gonna be full open bar though. So we.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's a real wedding.
That'll have to be right if they schedule it on the TCU game.
So, like I said, I will either be happy drunk or I'll be disgruntled. Yeah.
All right, so send us some texts and do some comments on the blog because that might be really interesting.
That will be.
All right. We'll see if I get the internet in Malacca or wherever the hell it is.
You don't even know where you're going yet?
It's some nice banquet hall somewhere between Malacca and Onamia, just off 169. So
Oh, it sounds lovely. I'm sure it'll be beautiful. Yeah. I'm sure the happy couple will remember that day the rest of their lives.
Hey, I just want to say, when I got married, the Gophers finished the sweep of Mankato State. Where am I from? Mankato.
Oh, don't they sweep Mankato every year?
Yeah, but it was still nice.
Yeah. Beautiful. All right, well, I'll wrap it up. Thanks for joining us. For anybody who's watched it this long, thanks Danny and Andy for joining. Everybody else bailed on us, jerks.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. But
We had what? Did we have 5 or 6 guys lined up originally?
I think it was going to be 5, and a couple guys probably could have done it if we'd have, you know. But we were going to kind of cap it at 5, so we don't have a whole screen full of 15 people.
Yeah.
5 guys, a couple bailed, a couple of the subs. Oh, Andy was a sub, so 3 guys bailed.
Yeah, totally.
Anyway, thanks for joining us. Should be fun. The TCU game should be fun and competitive, and getting to play a real team is always more exciting than playing Eastern Illinois. So I'm looking forward to it. Don't forget to look at our Facebook page because Danny is a little passionate about that, and he will.
Go Facebook. The Champagne Room has twice as many Facebook friends as we do, and that is just bad.
Yeah, that's despicable. He will cyber stalk you if you don't like the page.
Totally. I will.
He's got skills.
I have the power.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us on the Daily Gopher Hangout 2.0 this year, and we'll hopefully try to be back next week if we can get people to join us and talk about
I'll be here.
TCU. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.